Elerbt Hubbard said, "The supernatural is the natural, just not yet understood." From asylums to ancient burial grounds, here are 9 of the most haunted places in the world. Number 9. Poveglia Island. Off the coast of Venice is a tiny island called Poveglia, with a very troubling history. It started during the plague that ravaged Europe. It was spreading so quickly that people were desperate to try and get rid of those who had the virus, including doing so by any means at their disposal. Which brings us to Venice, Italy. In their minds, the best solution was to put everyone who seemed to have the virus in one spot, Poveglia Island, and then quarantine it to ensure that the non-infected wouldn't go there on accident. Historians claim that over the years, over 160,000 people died there, but their bodies weren't just buried. They were put into plague pits to keep them safe from others. Fast forward to 1922, and a mental hospital opened up on the island, and it too had a very troubling history, including stories of doctors experimenting on the patients there until it was finally shut down. There are reports of multiple ghosts lingering from the days of the plague. It's rumored that a doctor from the mental hospital jumped to his death from the island's bell tower after experiencing some paranormal activity that he couldn't handle. He has since been said to have joined in on the paranormal activity and is one of the many ghosts on the island. Visitors claim that they can still hear the bell, even though the bell has been removed for years. Those who believe in the supernatural try to go there and connect with the spirits. The island has had so many sightings and reports of ghostly behavior that the Italian government has banned visitors. In order to visit, you must have special permission and a permit. Still, even then, most will refuse to ferry you over. There have been some paranormal TV shows that have gone to check it out, but they had to pay very convincingly, and then they were quickly abandoned on the island's dock as the captain didn't wish to stay. Besides that, the island is off limits to regular visitors, and those who go there and get caught will be arrested. Number 8. Winchester Mystery House. Long ago, William Winchester made his fortune by creating the legendary device that was said to have helped tame the Wild West. It was a rifle that established the Winchester brand that continues to this day. William had a wife named Sarah, and they lived in New Haven, Connecticut, where they had their first and only child, Annie. This is where the story takes a very sad and somber turn. Shortly after birth, it was realized that Annie had marasmus, a protein disorder that disallowed her body to properly digest food. Annie passed away after only a few months of life. This would be the first tragedy in Sarah's life. A few years later, William passed away to tuberculosis. Her one true love in this world was gone, and Sarah was never the same. At this time, the world started to see a rise in spiritualism and mediums and mentalists claiming that they had the abilities to allow people to speak to the other side, people that have passed. Sarah, being a distraught woman from losing her only baby and her husband, decided to try this trend of spiritualism. She was told by a medium that all those who lost their lives due to her husband's rifle would haunt her forever. The medium said that she had to build a great mansion for all of the spirits, and if she ever stopped building, she would die too. In order to prevent this from happening, she began to build. The mansion had many different facets and hidden rooms that she would access in order to get away from the spirits and ghosts that were haunting her. She slept in different rooms every night to try and confuse the spirits. It's unknown to this day how many rooms are actually inside the 6-acre mansion. You could begin to count them all and then get lost in the chaos of the house. She was constantly adding on and boarding up rooms and hallways so the ghosts wouldn't find her. There are stairs to nowhere, doors that open to the outside, secret passageways, rooms that allow her to spy on people working on the house, and a lost wine cellar. Sarah is said to have passed away one day when, wouldn't you know, construction workers took a break. Nowadays, the mansion is open to those who wish to tour it and see if they can sense the spirits that Sarah feared. Number 7. The LaLaurie Mansion. New Orleans isn't just a popular place to party. Most people that live in the city believe in the supernatural. New Orleans has many places that are believed to house spirits and ghosts. One of the more famous ones of the bunch is the LaLaurie Mansion. Its name comes from Madame Delphine LaLaurie, who was a socialite who lived in the French Quarter of New Orleans in the early parts of the 19th century. The infamous Madame Delphine was born in Marie Delphine McCarty. She was born pretty well off, but inherited more money with each marriage. Her first two husbands died of strange causes. Her third marriage was to a handsome younger man, and it apparently drove her to madness in the LaLaurie Mansion, which she lived in with her husband and daughters. She loved to throw parties and dressed the part. Unbeknownst to her guests, 2 floors above where the parties were being held, Madame LaLaurie had a torture chamber for her slaves. It's even been told that halfway through the parties, she would visit the chamber and torment her prisoners, then change into a different beautiful gown and make a grand entrance back to the party. In the spring of 1834, the mansion was set on fire. It revealed the horrific living conditions of a number of slaves who were being tortured, starved, and beaten. The fire was allegedly started by a slave who had been chained in the kitchen in an attempt to expose the way that she and others were being treated. Police came to the mansion for the fire, but when they discovered the truth, word spread quickly, and an angry mob ran her out of town. Soon after the fire, the house was converted into an apartment complex, and a tenant was murdered there. However, the unusual nature of his death suggested ties to paranormal activity. Even spookier, in the mid-19th century, the LaLaurie Mansion functioned as an all-girls school where students often experienced random and bizarre physical assaults. The screams of those that she held and tortured are said to still be heard to this day. The mansion is no longer able to be toured from the inside, but is talked about during other tours of New Orleans. So if you pass by, listen close. You might hear the screams of Madame LaLaurie's victims. Number 6. Isla de las Muñecas. Just south of Mexico City is a small island with a tragic history. Isla de las Muñecas, meaning the Island of Dolls, is one of the creepiest and potentially most haunted places in the world. Just as haunting is why the place exists at all. At one point in time, a caretaker named Julian looked after the island, and one day he found a dead girl's body floating in a canal nearby. Shortly after, the caretaker saw a doll floating that most likely belonged to the little girl. He picked up the doll and hung it to the tree, as a way of showing respect. He buried the child on the island, but later felt that he was being haunted by her. Desperate to bring peace to her spirit, he started making and collecting dolls for the girl's spirit, trying to please her so that she would leave him alone. He put them all over the island. He soon realized the dolls themselves were possessed by the spirits of dead girls, but continued to hang the dolls all over. After 50 years of decorating the island with dolls, Julian was found dead, drowned in the same spot he found the girl. Anyone who goes to Isla de las Muñecas finds themselves not just looking at creepy dolls, but truly feeling that some of them are possessed, including reports of the dolls' soulless eyes following them as they go through. Number 5. Eastern State Penitentiary. Located in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the Eastern State Penitentiary opened its heavy doors in 1829. At the time of its construction, it was the most expensive and elaborate public structure of its time. With its gloomy high stone walls, crumbling corridors, and bare cells that once housed thousands of hardcore criminals, Eastern State Penitentiary certainly looks haunted. Its history is full of suicide, madness, disease, murder, and torture, making it easy for one to imagine the spirits of the tormented souls left behind to roam its abandoned halls. The grim punishments used on prisoners are enough to give you goosebumps without even seeing a ghost. Inmates were dunked in a water bath, then hung outside on a wall during the winter until ice formed on their skin. They were bound to a mad chair that held an inmate so tightly that the circulation was cut off, later necessitating amputations. The iron gag, in which an inmate's hands were tied behind their backs and strapped to an iron collar in their mouth, and if they moved, it would cause their tongue to tear and bleed. And the hole, a dank underground cell where unfortunate souls had no light, no human contact, no exercise, no toilet, and very little food and air. During its operational years as a prison, the penitentiary was home to several famous inmates. Legendary criminals like mobster Al Capone and bank robber Slick Willie. Nowadays, the penitentiary is known for being a hotspot for paranormal activity. Cell Block 12 is known for echoing voices and cackling. Cell Block 6 for shadowy figures moving across the walls. Cell Block 4 for visions of ghostly faces. Many people reported seeing a silhouette of a guard in one of the towers. Wails, footsteps, screams, whispers, laughter, the same stories over and over again. Is the penitentiary cursed from the inmates who once rotted in their cells, perhaps wanting a little bit of payback? Number 4. Marlborough Psychiatric Hospital. Almost every aged psychiatric hospital has ghost stories that surround them. Most often, it is said, because of all the negative and cruel energy connected to these facilities. Marlborough Psychiatric Hospital in New Jersey is no exception to this rule. Its doors remained open for nearly 70 years. The facility had a long list of problems. Early on, rumors started to spread that patients were abused. Local residents nearby often saw unsupervised patients outside the hospital fences. There were numerous cases of patients disappearing, with no explanation as to where they went. They also had multiple cases of patients dying under odd circumstances, including a girl that was bulimic, choking to death. There was also people that were frozen to death. The death of so many patients prompted the designation of a cemetery on the grounds. Over 1,500 patients died while being cared for. Finally, after investigations and advances, the hospital was shut down in 1998. The building was then said to have been used for military training with explosives. There were also rumors of an abandoned slaughterhouse on the property and a resident murderous farmer who would lure victims there and kill them. Witnesses claimed to have seen shadow people until the slaughterhouse was torn down. Trespassing was such a problem that in 2013, the hospital was torn down as well, bringing a potential end to the haunted place. Or, at least, so they hope. Number 3. RMS Queen Mary. The Queen Mary ship was once a premium ocean luxury liner that sailed the North Atlantic Ocean between the 1930s to the 1960s. Everything changed during World War II, as the then luxury liner became a troop ship for helping the war effort. This was when things started to go very wrong. Many lost their lives aboard the ship. There have been over 150 reports of ghosts inside Queen Mary, and going by the regularity in the sightings of these paranormal beings, there seems to be a lot of truth in them. A sighting of a man in dark clothes and whose face is bearded is a regular apparition. The appearance of this ghost refers to a very well-known incident that happened in the Queen Mary ship, where a fireman was killed by getting crushed underneath the watertight door during a regular fire drill. There is said to be watery footprints by the first-class pool, which is closed. Sounds of children crying and laughing in the third-class playroom nursery, and the sighting of a little girl who drowned in the second-class swimming pool. The Queen Mary is now docked in Long Beach, California, and turned into a hotel, one that embraces its haunted nature with tours and special Halloween events such as the Dark Harbor. Number 2. Ancient Ram Inn. The Ancient Ram Inn in the UK has a reputation of being one of the most chilling places to spend the night. It was built in 1145, and since the beginning of its existence, there have been odd occurrences there. So much so that people today won't go there as they know the history of the events that are said to have gone on there. So that begs the question, what caused all these odd things to happen? The inn was built on the intersection of two ley lines. People believe to have high spiritual energy in these places. When using a map, you can actually trace the lines all the way through the center of Stonehenge. According to legend, Stonehenge has energy which travels through ley lines to feed the paranormal power found in the ancient Ram Inn. In addition, an ancient pagan burial ground is reported to have resided in the location over 5,000 years ago. No matter the true cause, the results honestly speak for themselves. Various former guests have been reported fleeing the bed and breakfast, screaming at the top of their lungs. Some have even jumped out of windows because they saw something in their rooms. Others say that they were attacked in their rooms by something. The current owner of the ancient ramen is named John Humphreys, who's owned it since 1968. He claims that on his first night, he was dragged out of bed by a ghost. What's more, since his time owning it, he's found skeletons buried in places within the inn, ritual daggers, proof of ritual sacrifice, and more. You'd think that this would end with the inn being torn down to protect others, but the Humphreys refused to do that. Number 1. Paris Catacombs. Buried beneath the streets of Paris lie the Paris Catacombs, created due to a shortage of burial space in the city, housing the bones of over 6 million people. A story from the tour guide site says, "This by far is one of the creepiest Paris catacomb legends. In the early 1990s, a group of cataphiles, or people who study and explore the Paris catacombs regularly, were walking through the dark chambers of the cemetery. They happened upon a video camera on the ground. To their surprise, the camera had footage on it. As the group watched the footage, they heard disturbing noises. It became apparent that the man holding the video camera was lost and had no idea how to escape. In the video, the audience can clearly draw the man is going mad inside of the underground network of tunnels. The video ends abruptly with the man dropping his camera on the ground. To this day, no one knows who this man was or if he came out alive. Many people believe that the movie As Above, So Below was inspired by this tragedy. There is also a legend that says that if you are inside the Paris catacombs after midnight, the walls begin to speak. Disembodied voices will try to persuade you to venture deeper and deeper into the catacombs until you can't find your way out. Paris has opened up the catacombs to public viewing, allowing them to see a small part of what was there. The key word here is small part. Not all of the catacombs are open to the public. According to some, the bodies of those in the catacombs weren't asked to be buried there, but were forced there because of the situation of the city. Thus, the spirits of those who were wronged by their new burial site haunt the tunnels forever. Thanks for watching. What did you think of these haunted places in the world? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!